I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings in the movies, and I'm not proud of my address.
We're not just building muscle, we're building men. In the quiet hours, in the unfiltered moments, in the conversations that happen before the world wakes up. This is the gloom, where brotherhood forms in the dark so we can lead in the light, where vulnerability is strength and leadership is handed from man to man, one story at a time. Our mission is to empower, exhort, and inspire men to achieve their best selves through stories of reinvigorated male community leadership. We bring you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha PACs, ordinary men doing extraordinary things in fitness, fellowship, faith, and leadership, because we believe that every man has a story, and reinvigoration starts when that story is shared. This is the glue in the gloom. Shout out to our sponsors, Exclusively Eye Care, Major Team Mortgage, Liberty Core Real Estate, Avior Wealth Management, and Omaha Laser Dentistry. We appreciate their support. Liberty Core Real Estate is your homegrown real estate broker. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, whether personal or investment, Armando, aka Brian, and Megan Michaels' company is ready to serve you. With Command Center in Old Town Elkhorn and agents all throughout the metro, they are more than ready to guide and serve you in your next real estate endeavor. Whether your next move needs to happen now or in 5 years, call or text Armando at 402-770-2165 to get your questions answered. And a special offer for F3 Nation PAX members, Liberty Core will donate $250 to your sponsor of choosing for every closed transaction. Stop looking, start finding today with Liberty Core Real Estate. Now let's get back to the gloom.
And we're back. This is super awesome. So this is, you may have heard me mention over the years, sort of this Bible study that I did. It would have been 9 or 10 years ago. So definitely before F3. And I get a chance to interview another one of the guys from that group that I think is just pivotal in my faith, but also a great leader, also has a great nickname, and has some pretty clever workouts to go along with his nickname. I think I remember a few at the Berm. Recent site Q at the Berm, our man Schnitzel is on with me today. Good to see you, brother.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, you look good. And maybe just to start us off, like talk us through who EH'd you, and if you remember, would love to hear like what was that first workout like?
Yeah, absolutely. It was quite memorable for me. So I live about 3 houses up from Truly. And so Truly and Slapshot, who lives right behind him, they'd been putting the clamps down on me at like some like local pool events and things like that. And it was very much a maybe next week, maybe next, whatever month. And eventually I think Truly was like, hey, I'm showing up in your driveway tomorrow, like 4:45. We're going. And basically it was okay, yep, we'll get there. And then 4:45 hits and I kind of peek out my blinds, and sure enough uh there's some headlights out there waiting for me. So I hop into to Truly, and Slapshot sitting in the truck, and we head over to main stage, and Mufasa was on the queue. And so all I remember from from arriving in the parking lot was uh, they mentioned it. Oh yeah, by the way, at the end of the workout, it's don't get weirded out, but they're gonna put you in the middle of a circle, and they're gonna name you. And it truly was. He was trying to be, giving me some tips of like, hey, like, don't give too much information, just give enough. Like, they're gonna name you something of like, if you give them Bronco, like you're a Broncos fan, they're gonna name you Chief or something. So like, try and steer clear of things you really want to stay away from. I'm like, oh, okay, like that's a lot to process. Like, right as like you're like closing the door headed to the workout. And so as we're like getting out of the door, I see them both putting on gloves, and I was like, "Oh, what? Were we supposed to bring gloves?" And Julie's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I probably should have mentioned that." And, so we go to the workout, and obviously Mufasa's workouts are, like basically 50 burpees in in the warm up, right? And so we started doing that, and like by the time the warm up was done, like my fingers are all bloody because we're just doing it at the parking lot in Millard South there, and so I was like, oh man,
Yeah.
well, yeah, this is awesome, right? And so basically we went down to the down to the field and got a good workout in, and it was tough. Like I was used to just kind of going doing things in the gym at my own pace, but kind of being through like a boot camp style workout was tough. And so yeah, then the end of the workout came, right? And Nemo happens, and I just get in the middle of the circle, and it's like verbal diarrhea, right? And someone's
Yeah.
just like, tell me about your past, whatever, first job, and like it wasn't even my first job, but like the first thing that pops in my head is I used to work at Stoy's and Chalice's Sausage. And so then you could only imagine like the names being thrown out there of like you tell people that you've worked with sausage in your past life. And so luckily, I mean I landed on a pretty tame name of Schnitzel, but there was some definite possibilities
Yeah.
out there that people were throwing out that I appreciate they didn't land on. So yep, that's how Snitchel got started, and
Nice.
and then yeah,
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I can only imagine you give a group of guys that sort of ammo, right? And you tell them
yeah,
I worked in a sausage factory, and they're sort of
right,
like, wait a minute, yeah. Well,
yeah, yep,
so
it's
Schnitzel's not too bad, right?
right, you're right.
Well, yeah, and I guess other than the 50 burpees to start and the bloody hands, what was your initial impression of that first workout? It sounds like it was kind of a beatdown.
Yeah, it was good. It was. I mean, honestly, it kind of put me outside my comfort zone a bit as far as like, you know, you don't know same as it goes every week, right? It's like you don't know what you're going into. It's dealer's choice of um what the workout's gonna be. Um Not being prepared for anything was a bit like just new to me. But yeah, it definitely I think kind of being an athlete in past life, it brought like competitive juices back a bit. But then so then after that point it was kind of like battling the whole waking up super early to like go to these workouts and trying to get like build that consistency and like rigor and like a daily schedule was really tough for me at the beginning. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I would be curious, and I know you and Truly have some local competition going on in terms of like who has the nicest lawn. I know that's a thing, but I would be
yeah,
curious, like
yeah.
what what got you to the point where you were like, okay, I'm ready to give in now? Were they just so persistent, or was anything going on in life that sort of you said, okay, I need this now?
I think it was a mix of both. By the way, just truly does have a very pristine lawn. If you've ever
Yeah,
anyone that's listening, right? Like he knows his stuff. He's got I don't know. He's got some like secret sauce from back home that he like lays down,
right.
and he won't share that information with anybody. So,
It's the
my
Petersburg.
my wife like puts her feet in like the grass, and she's like, "See, Chris, why can't we just have this?" And I'm like, "Listen, I can't. Listen, I don't work magics." Um,
Yeah,
but yeah. So going back to your question, it was kind of a mix of both for me. Like I think getting in a routine in the mornings was just hard, right? Like you're just kind of in a way like you're just selfish about like I just want to sleep in nice warm bed and just that's your comfort zone, right? And like so getting out of that took probably a couple months before it was like consistent. It would come in like phases of like, hey, I would run into Truly, and he would be like, hey, let's go here this week, right? And so he was definitely persistent, like not overbearing or anything like that, um but then like I don't know, like you kind of hit the point where like you almost, it's the FOMO like too, and then
Mm-hmm.
like you feel like you know, like you don't want to let anybody down. Like all of a sudden, like there's this sense of accountability that just starts like creeping into the picture. And so I would say, within probably 2 months is like really when like that next cycle hits. So like you first are like dipping your toe in the water
Hmm.
and you're like, oh yeah, yeah, it feels okay. But like you're kind of like, I don't quite know if this is for me. And the whole waking up early thing isn't that great. And
Yeah.
and then like you kind of get the itch of like, well, you know what, it was a pretty good workout. Like I do need this in my life. And that's really like, you initially start off like for the workouts, I feel like, and you're
Hmm.
trying to like better yourself, and you're kind of still self like focused. And so that's really like how it was for me. It didn't, I would say, maybe like after that second month I really started going at least like 3 4 times a week. And then from there it was pretty routine. And then you kind of hit a point where you're like, I don't go just for the workout, right? I go to like for the fellowship and the coffee afterwards, and like um and that consistently, I feel like that like consistency takes a little bit of time to like finally get there. And it's like that, it's like kind of like that natural transition of like the F3 ladder, I feel like. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think you're spot on. I think they kind of call that out a little bit in like Free to Lead, right? Where they kind of say that the fitness is sort of the magnet, right? And gets going, and then over time those other things creep in. Um, I would be curious too. I know you mentioned playing sports growing up, and would love to just sort of hear like pre F3, what was your sort of activity fitness journey like, and then sort of where are you at today? Do you feel like you've been able to make some improvements through F3?
yes, played sports all growing up, played football in college, and then
Where'd you go to
my
college at?
Dana College,
Okay.
just
What
mile
position did you
mile
play?
north, inside linebacker. So
Okay. Nice.
yeah, my senior year I was like 245, so like much different than than I am now. Uh, but yeah, so I mean, I just grew up like, I don't know, super competitive. And and that's kind of one area too where like if you've if you've been on like the teams, or like, we have a lot of like uh folks like Stripes and LPC, and like just military folk that just are used to being around a group of guys. Like once you leave that, you miss that sense of community and fellowship. And so I think that's another spot too, is like where this just naturally eventually like fit into my life, is like it's this gap that you didn't probably think is as big of a gap, but like you really were like missing it, and you were trying to fill that in with like other pieces, in your life, but like nothing really fit. And so that's where actually really helped fill that gap for me. Um, and then after college, it was really just like a routine, like my job here has a gym downstairs. And so like during lunch or after work, it's like same thing over and over and over, get on treadmill, go lift some weights, rinse and repeat. Um, and so it just gets boring, honestly,
Yeah.
right? Like you don't talk to anybody. You're just in your own zone, hard to get motivated to like do the same thing over and over again. And so that's really where I was for, gosh, probably 10, 10, 15 years, I guess, is just kind of doing that repetitive thing. And then, yeah, so 3 years ago, I joined F3, and that's just, having like that dealer's choice and like options available of like, sometimes I'll go if I feel like I need to go run some more, it's like, okay, I'll hit Catalyst this week instead and just try and get more miles in, or start if I feel like I need to ramp up more, I'll try and pre-run some and things like that. And so I've never football is like a very fast twitch sport. So, you're running for like seconds at a time. So my body's just like running more than a couple miles, like it just fights me. Um, and
Yeah.
so like trying to like run more and more has definitely been like a challenge for myself. So just trying to get like, usually between if I do like a pre and the workout, if I can get like, 4-5 miles in or something, that's what I try and go for now. Um, I did a while back, I did like the turkey trot and got, I think it was 6 miles or something in, but like it's probably like where I'm at, like max wise right now. Um, but yeah,
Um, sorry.
it's a, oh, did I cut out there?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
You kind of cut out there, but I think you were saying you're kind of back to a healthier sort of status. You feel like I was going to ask you if you so you it sounds like started lifting or continued to lift or work out just because you're like you had learned that's good for you, right? And then
Right.
um did you notice any when you went from like maybe more time in the gym to like the boot camp style? Have you noticed any like change in overall fitness or muscle tone or any of that? Or you feel like you've been able to maintain a lot of that?
I feel like it's probably more maintain, um, which is good. I mean, for my like age and just where I'm at in my journey is like I'm not looking to be like, like super buff and all the things, right? I just want to be healthy and be trim and fit and just feel good. Um, and so that's really where it's helped me is just kind of maintain consistency. Um, and I feel like no matter like where I'm at on my journey and like where I feel like I am either falling short or um if I feel like I need to like cut some weight or trim up, like, okay, I'll go pre-run more and then like there's somebody else I can latch on to or somebody will meet me um to like help me get there, right? Right.
I would be curious, how do you feel about like coupons? Have you got into coupon or sandbag or weights sites? Has that been something as a former sort of lifter that you've found good for you?
Yep. Yeah. I definitely try and incorporate coupons, into my workouts, but also, um, you know, hitting up certain sites that actually like do coupon workouts and things like that. I try and do that every once in a while. Actually, now that you mention that, I haven't been to a coupon like workout in quite a while. So I feel like now it's weather's like changing. Maybe we need to like change that up a little bit
Bring
and
them back. Yeah.
start bringing 'em back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, honestly, like a lot of just even like your body weight workouts is like I feel like I still get a great workout regardless. Like usually I'm spent after
Mhm.
the workouts anyways. So but yeah, it's definitely a good mix to have in there. And then, every once in a while, like I would say maybe once a week, I still try and go do like actual weight workouts here at the gym or something. And so it's like it not living and dying by like F3 workouts is like mixing in other pieces to kind of, fill out that like fitness puzzle.
Yeah,
But
for sure. Well, and I know it's challenging, right? Because as we get older and we have kids and they get busy, and then you're sort of like, when do I fit in I had a moment the other day where like the only thing I had time for was to go for a walk with our 8-month old. And
yeah,
I was really pissed about that. But it's like, you know what, whatever, like that's
right.
what I was able to do that day. And so you win some, you lose some.
And it's funny you say it because like that was early on, like one of my struggles too of like my wife's she's a nurse, and so her hours are if she works that day, like she's at the hospital by like 5:30. So like those
Mhm.
days I can't I have to be at home with the kids. And so like you get frustrated by like the days you can't go do something, but then like you kind of take a step back and you're like, well, like kind of being selfish in a way because like my wife would love to like be able to go work out in the mornings and she's given that up like for me to allow me to do that. And so um it's kind of this balance between, you know, trying to take care of yourself, which in turn helps take care of like your family, but then also like allowing your and others to like do their thing too. And so it's like an ebb and flow of what works and one size doesn't fit all for every person, right? Everyone's goes through the seasons and some are busier than others. And that's the great part about F3 though, is like there's always going to be someone there uh, that'll welcome you back.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Well, what the other thing I would be curious about when you think about the kind of second half or fellowship piece. So you knew obviously Truly and Slapshot, and then you knew a bunch of other F3 guys, but I don't know, like, were they like, did you show up and you knew a bunch of other guys that were there, or was there sort of this gradual? Because I'm thinking about our Bible study group, and we're all sort of
Hmm.
spread out. So it would have like taken some time to figure that out.
Yeah. So I mean, I've randomly would see like Sister Act out,
Mhm.
and Firewalker. Firewalker is like way
Sarpy,
Sarpy,
yeah,
so
yeah.
we see him at like the convergences and things like that. But yeah, it's interesting because Omaha is just you're 2 degrees away from everybody in this town,
Mhm.
right? And so usually it's I I would know like of a person or maybe ran into him like once or twice or like you live in this neighborhood, like, oh, so and so. So it's pretty easy to like quickly get like acclimated.
Mhm.
Honestly, like the hardest part even for me to date is like just remembering people's F3 names, right? And
Yeah,
like there's so many things that are alike um and then if you haven't been to a site for a while and like I remember going to Combine a while back and like they just had like a whole slew of like new people around there and I felt like I was like in Sarpy or something because I didn't know
yeah.
anybody there, right? And so yeah, I mean it quickly though, like it, you just everyone just becomes like friends, right? Like it's not
Mhm.
and then usually like you just get a bit sticky to like your certain sites and then those people keep coming and so like the newness and like the I don't know, not in a way you're trying to like find your place, like you quickly find your place.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, it is so funny. Omaha is just such a small town when you think about it,
yeah,
and there's always like, "Oh, you know this person," and just the way that
yeah.
people are connected is funny.
I don't think I've ever been on a trip where like I haven't met a person that's from like Omaha or Iowa that somehow knows like somebody in like my
Yeah.
network. And even I was on a flight back from San Francisco this past weekend and there was a family that sat right in front of me and they had 2 young daughters like I have. And so they just kind of stuck out in my head because of that. And like I was walking into Target and the dad was getting out of his car there. I'm like, are you kidding? I'm
Nice.
like, go figure. You live probably blocks away from me. And
Yeah. Did you
yeah,
EH him
but
then?
I did I did not I did
No,
not. I did
you're
I
supposed
thought
to.
maybe that was like if I just hit him up right as he's getting out of his car, that might be
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
aggressive, like, hey, you looking
That's
for a
when you hand
workout?
them the F3 business card that's like a free lifetime memberships. That's what we give out.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Um, no, I love it. I would be curious as you sort of continue to come out to F3, what was it from a fellowship standpoint that sort of helped you build those relationships with guys?
Um, gosh, like one thing that has stuck with me, it, and I guess I'll just set the stage, is like just the realness of everyone in the
Mm,
group. The ability to like get raw and like
yeah.
just have tough discussions, and like everyone's going through something in their lives, and usually if you're not going through that thing, like you will, or
Mhm.
like you have some flavor of it that you've dealt with, or at times it's just like the ability to listen, right? And so one of the things for me was my brother-in-law getting diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and
Mm,
so um like that was like like a really just tough time for my family, and especially my and so like every like imagine like every single day your like is crying, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing that's gonna make her like happy. Um, but like just learning how to like be there for her, and like just having like support for
yeah.
you. And so like I mean there's guys that I didn't even know that well, and they're just like constantly they see me at the next workout. Hey, how's he doing? You
Mm,
know, I knew he had a scan this week. Like, how is his scan results? And like, and people texting me, like, same thing. And, you know, uh, just knowing like there's certain things that are like surface level with people, and then there's things that like are much deeper, right? And like, this is like the next level of like, you don't run into someone, hey, how's he doing? Oh, that's great, you know, and then on to the next thing. And like these people actually like everyone truly cares. So that
yeah.
was one thing that stuck with me, is like
Was that
it's
was he
nothing is
going
surface
through
level.
that, like, right when you started or about the time or
Yeah, it was like, gosh, maybe maybe like 6 months in, something like that, 4 6
Mhm.
months in. So it was pretty fresh. And that's something too where it's like, you know, as a newer person at F3, bringing that into like the circle and stuff was, you know, was a bit of a challenge at first, right? Usually, you know, people they may or may not be quiet like when asking for prayers and things like that. And so it's kind of like just, you know, one workout, just let it out there, and it kind of just proliferated from there. And, you know, usually you're at workouts and someone had heard a prayer request from a previous workout, and like it just kind of extrapolates, and people latch onto that, and people want to pray for you and help out any way they can. So it's
Yeah.
that really was like it's bigger than a workout, right? And it's people really truly care. So
Did he what was the result for your brother-in-law? I don't know that I know that. Did he pass away or is he
nope,
still
nope, he's
fighting?
still, yeah. So he actually is, so in after year 5 is when they can basically declare him like cancer free. So he just had his 3-year scans and everything's still good. So um I mean it's pretty rare when you have a 39-year-old that's stage 3 pancreatic. And so we're I think we still kind of like live in a like what's going to happen kind of
Yeah.
life, you know, but um at the same time like he's doing like awesome. I mean, like all of his numbers are spot on, and so we're hoping that he is like that small percentage that's, you know, that beats it. So,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah,
actually posted too.
we
So
did. Okay, so
yeah,
my next
yeah,
question, how did that go?
I yeah. So I, you know, he had heard me talking about F3 for, you know, years, and obviously for a long time going through chemo. Like he just didn't have the strength to come out and you know work out. And eventually he kind of just like, you know, caught his pace, and like he started working out like on his own, going to the gym, getting on a treadmill, and so one I think it was a I'm trying to remember where he now I can't remember where he posted at. I should look it up real quick. But yeah, he posted one one day with me finally got him out. And so Capital is he came out once. So
Okay.
then he lived downtown, and so he actually went to what's the site down on like
Like Canyon
uh
or something, or
can't yeah, yep, on is that the Saturday one?
yeah, yep.
Yep. And I think he showed up like 15 minutes late or something. So he's
Right.
like, and I was like, yeah, they don't really wait around. Like,
Yeah.
so I think they, scurried off somewhere. And he's like, there's a flag, but I didn't see anybody. It's
Oh,
like,
nice.
yeah. So he tried, going again, um, but yeah, I think he's moving down. Actually, he's moving to Florida today. So he's on his drive down. So
Gotcha. Is he
yeah,
married or have kids or no?
nope, nope.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it's wild because you hear a story like that, right? And you think like, well, I'm the same age, right? And so then it just puts into perspective like how finite life is, right? And just like none of us really know what
right.
tomorrow's going to bring, which is just so I appreciate you sharing that journey with us. It seems like you and him were pretty close.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, were we don't have a lot of like the same interests, but like
Mhm.
still obviously like I'm an only child, and
Yeah.
my wife's really close to him, and so we're always in group chats and whatnot, and
Yeah.
um but yeah, so I mean like all of that really like sprung board like the third F as well as like um just having prayers for me, and like just kind of seeing someone go through that, and like you said, like life's short. Like I'd gone through like you know uh like Bible studies and things, and my faith has just kind of been an up and down journey, and so that was kind of one thing where really sprung board me and my family to kind of like, yeah, we just stop like hitting the delay button, like
Mhm.
get involved, get consistent with like going to church, and that's kind of like our first like step um that really got us going in that direction too. So
Heck yeah.
What's it like to love your dentist? Well, you're about to find out, where healthy smiles go beyond your teeth. No drilling, no needles, and no anxiety. Relax, it's Omaha Laser Dentistry. Welcome to Better. At Omaha Laser Dentistry, Dr. Party uses the Solea laser, a CO2 laser that's used in all of his day-to-day patient care. He provides thorough exams, assessments, and treatments for things like snoring, tethered tissue, and extractions like wisdom teeth, as well as other surgeries. Check him out today at omahalaserdentistry.com. Discounts may be available for F3 Omaha members.
Well, I love it, and I want to get more into the faith piece. But before we do that, wanted to spend some time just hearing about your. So I think when we were doing that Bible study, I think maybe you were married, but didn't have kids yet. But kind of in that like fellowship, we think about like concentrica, so like relationship with your M and your kids. But talk us through. So you're married, you've got two girls. Remind me their ages again.
yep, they're 7 and 8.
7 and 8.
Yep.
I know they're in a ton of dance, cheer, all of the things. But talk me through like, has F3 had any sort of impact on the way you're able to show up for your family, or what's that been like?
Yeah, absolutely. Um like I met with our CIO yesterday, and he talks about like these little um we were talking about like career paths and things like that, and he talked about these like inflection points along your career of like things that just kind of changed your trajectory, right? And so um thinking about like this interview, I was like, man, it's kind of one thing that really kind of changed the trajectory of like me as a dad. I feel like too is um be- there was a lot of times, I mean, being in tech and constantly having like your phone and emails going and Teams and all the things, like I just wasn't like a present dad, I felt like, right? And that's not to say like I it's rare if I have to miss a event like a soccer game or anything, and so not present from like that standpoint, but like getting home and like first thing I do, go plug in my laptop, check email versus like, hey girls, like how was your day at school? How was, all the things, right? And so like other people struggle with that exact thing. And that's like, and it's a common theme that a lot of us dads go through. And so just like hearing these like repetitive messages of like things that other guys are struggling with, like you build that like commonality with them. And then
Mhm.
hearing like ideas of like, what I do is I do this to help like, you know, basically compartmentalize like any of that piece. And I put my phone down or put it on screen time or whatever. And it's
Mhm.
just like these little like reminders. And it's like, it's a good way to start every morning is like hearing that reminder because it's fresh um and so that's one thing that's really like helped from that standpoint. And then just like hearing people's stories of like, either they've had, good relationships or bad relationships with like their parents or like, you know, things that, oh, I had a terrible trip with like my him and my family and we yelled and but then at the end of the day like this is how everything turned out and it's like wow yeah we go through those same struggles too, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times like you just sometimes you bottle that up because you're like like I'm just nobody else goes through that type of stuff and then you hear it and you're like oh
Mhm.
well it's not so me, getting yelled at or whatever. Like I don't know, being in a house outnumbered by a bunch of girls, like sometimes I'm just like, whoa, I'm just gonna bow out here and
Yeah.
like, there's a lot of things happening and being an only child too, I'm like, yeah, this is I don't know what to do here, Jill. Just
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. It's so funny. I'm the same, right? We've got 3 girls and there just are these moments where you're like, am I the only one going through this? And
right.
like you said, a lot of times the most helpful thing to know is no, like you're not alone, right? And you're not the
Mhm.
first one. I always love, and I give cataracts a hard time because I always just tell them like, because you have 9 children, now I'm going to ask you, I assume you're an expert by now.
Yeah.
And even he will say he's not, right? But,
Yeah, yeah.
it's just funny the number of things. Have you brought your girls to a 2.0 workout ever?
I haven't yet. So I'm planning on this summer though. They were kind of, I don't know. They have very, very poor like sleep habits right now.
Oh, yeah.
And so like
Summertime, yeah.
trying to like, yeah, like get them up out. I I didn't want to like stir that like
Yeah.
when they were younger. And so but yeah, no, I definitely am planning on I think the last one that happened, like usually there's some event, like we were out of town for cheer or whatnot, and like so it just never lined up. And then like with one being younger than the other, like they both have to go, but then the one's not really ready to go, and so yeah, it just was like a whole thing. And so but it's funny you mentioned cataracts though, because I would see him every once in a while up at Shadow, right? And like I didn't like when I first saw him up there, I didn't realize how many kids he had. And so he's like, like, well, how many kids do you have? And he's like, well, like he points to like the slide and like his family's like taking up like the
Yeah.
entire like
Those 3
line to
tables
the
over
slide.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, it's so funny. I brought my daughter, my oldest, when she was younger, and finally we got to the point where she just said, Dad, I'm only coming to these for you. And I sort of said, "Well, it's twice as much work for me when you're here." So we just sort of agreed to like,
Yeah.
she likes it, she asks about it, but she doesn't really need to come. So I'll be curious
Yeah.
how that works out for you guys.
Okay, yeah.
Um, well, I would also be curious from a faith perspective, right? Because when I knew you, it's fascinating to me, right? Because we were in this like men's Bible study where we would read, the daily walk and do journaling and then meet I think it was every Friday to have
Yep.
coffee at Paradise
Yeah,
Bakery back in
paradise,
the
yeah.
day. But what's been sort of your faith journey over the years? How has that sort of, you mentioned kind of some ups and downs, but just talk us through that.
Yeah, I think it's like growing up very much like holiday church goer, right? But like always like believing was never not like on the table, right? But it was just never really the weekly like repetitiveness of like going. And then throughout high school and college, I got involved with like FCA and like trying to find and going to Dana. So kind of found like a home there a bit and got into more a good cadence of going to church and things like that. And then um, my first job like ended up like traveling a bunch. I was 100% travel, so like trying to find like churches in like Bangkok and Thailand and
Yeah.
or Kuwait and things like that, not really on the table. So kind of like downhill again. And
Yeah.
um,
Who were you, just to kind of maybe take a detour? What were you doing that had you over in all those different
yeah,
countries?
so I worked in for ACI Worldwide. So they're a financial software company. So I was working for banks over there, basically installing and going live with like back office settlement software. Spent most of my time in Mexico City, Bangkok, Kuwait, London a little bit.
Wow. So a lot
Basically
of
just lived out of a suitcase and
a lot of cartel sort of work, it sounds like.
pretty much, yeah. They're like the running joke was like, I don't know if the company was like trying to get rid of me because they're like, where else can we send them? That's like, it was never like Bank of Hawaii or something, right?
Right.
It's like, yeah, we'll send.
Are you a DBA by trade or or a engineer?
It's one of my skill sets. So I eventually grown to like learn the whole stack. So
Okay.
anything from like storage layer up to like I've done, Java, and now I kind of just drive like architecture, trying to figure out how things are all wired together. And so,
Got it. Okay.
yeah,
No, that's really cool. Sorry for the detour. I just
yeah.
thought yeah, I would imagine, because in some of those countries, isn't it like illegal to be a Christian even?
Yeah, it was, I mean, it just, I guess I never really seeked it out there, right? And like, I mean, I remember working in places that there was like contractors that like they were recently in like Saudi Arabia and stuff, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's public beheadings and things like that, and
Yeah.
like yeah, I don't know, I'm just gonna lay low.
Yeah. It didn't come up in the work day to day
No, no, yeah,
convo.
that was
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, job occupation hazard.
So then did you meet your wife? Were you married and then did that, or talk us through, I guess, kind of, because I suppose that
Yeah,
has a role to play in sort of the thing.
yes. So there's kind of a whole pre-story. I was actually married once before, and that was so during our Bible study. I was previously married, and then went through, you know, tough time there. Didn't work out, like thankfully. And it
No
was kind of
kids from that?
I, nope.
Okay.
And so again, like that type of stuff, like there's guys I've met through F3 that are like freshly going through that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like everyone has like a backstory, right? And it's like you may or may not be able to help them, but there's people eventually that's gonna go through something similar. And so there's a few guys that were going through that. So just mine was not like a severe divorce, luckily, like no kids and all the like difficult
Yeah.
split up and whatnot. But like so
But
went through all
that
that.
first marriage was mostly you were the problem and she wasn't, or
Yeah, I I wish no, it was definitely well on the other side, but
okay.
again, like you know,
How did you process that, I guess? Because I'm assuming, that's like marriage is a big deal, and then all of
yeah,
a sudden because you would have been,
yeah.
what,
I
in
mean,
your
well, and
early 30s or late 20s?
um, yeah, I'm trying to. So this was probably like 2014-ish or so. And so, um, yeah, I mean, basically, going through that, basically, I got like hit by a train from the side. Like I got just completely blindsided of what was going on. And then I just basically packed up all my stuff, took my dog, and then went back and lived with my parents. And I mean, I still remember there was like days where like I would just have panic attacks, and it was like literally like breathing into a paper sack of like trying to calm yourself down because it's going through life and trying to like figure out, well, are you gonna get married again? Are you like I guess I'm very conservative, like when it comes to the fact of like, hey, you get married, you have kids, whatever, white picket fence, like that's how like life's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
like, so kind of like hitting the reset button when you feel like you're a little bit later, and then like Omaha dating scene, right? It's like completely different, like, and then it just dating in general is just different, right? It's not like you go to I'm not like a huge like, oh, go to a bar and like meet a girl at the bar, right? And especially when like you're balancing like a career, you're traveling and all these things. And um so that was a struggle, right? And like actually like that was one of the things, like going full circle back to faith, is like I eventually just started going to church by myself and like just trying to like find some path, right? I knew at the end of the day, like, God has a path, some plan for me. This was part of his plan. And like just trying to figure out like what am I supposed to do from here?
Yeah.
And then eventually like got my own place again, got kind of back on my feet, and then actually actually met my wife through Tinder.
No way.
Yeah, so we're one of
Awesome.
the success stories through that. And again, hilarious. Like we have like so many mutual friends, and we've probably been at like the same get-togethers and stuff in the past, but
Mhm.
never had like officially met. And yeah, it was like one of those things where it just felt right from the beginning. And so eventually, yeah, she moved in, got married, started
Now you got
having kids, and
two daughters, and
yep,
how long you been married now?
yeah. Let's see here, so 2016, 9 years, celebrate our 10-year next year.
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah.
You know what's so interesting to me, and I don't know if the timeline, if I understood you right, but like I was in the Bible study and then had a daughter and then like went down this really dark path, right? And then like it
Mhm.
seems like you were in the Bible study and then you kind of went through something. And so what I think people think happens is like you start getting closer to God and life gets easier, but I don't think that's how it goes, or at least that's
Yeah,
not been my experience.
yeah,
But kind of talk us through the rest of your faith journey. I would be curious, like where you at today. What's
yeah. I mean, just kind of fast forwarding a little bit, like especially through F3, like um, you hear everyone's story and everyone's at a different like place in their journey. Um, and like Relevant Church is really close to like our house. And so knowing like T Swift and like Slow Clap and there's so many, honestly there's
there's a bunch
dozens
of
of guys
more.
that like
Yeah.
go out there. And it's so we eventually went back out, trying to find like a home.
Mhm,
And so we found Relevant, and we really like it there.
mhm.
And then now, so we started going, and we were consistent in going. And then cheerleading hit. And then like again, it's just like this never ending like ebb and flow of like, well, their Sunday practices are at 10 a.m. in Sarpy County, or like okay, well, what do you do? And so, um, eventually, like, we kind of split off to where, like, my wife would take to cheerleading, I would take my other daughter and go to church, and
Hmm.
uh, but there was never like a cohesive, like, we're going as a unit kind of thing. And I've always had it in my mind, like, I I wouldn't want like any of us to like pass away and not have like the full confidence of like a feeling like, yep, I'm going to heaven and I have this a great relationship with God and all the things. And so like I really have been adamant of like, let's consistently go. Let's like I want this to be like the center of our family is making sure like our kids understand, and um we're setting a good example for them. And so, and actually, like, I just got a text from my daughter just went to Relevance summer camp last week.
Summer
And so
blast. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, the summer blast, yeah. And so I was in San Francisco and I got a text from her, and she said something about how she loves church and following Jesus or something. And I was like it kind of made me start tearing up a bit, like, because
Yeah.
my daughter's 7 texting me that. Um, and so it's just like, hey, yeah, I don't know. There's times when you're like, gosh, am I doing like this parenting thing right? And
Yeah.
like every once in a while, you get like a little nugget of like, hey, yeah, you're okay.
Oh.
So
Yeah, it's so interesting, and I would assume you, like me, are being in IT, right? Data is everything, and so,
mhm,
but then we're in these things in life that are just unmeasurable, right? Like it's so hard to measure, right? How am I doing as a dad? How am I doing as a husband? Um, and so those little like moments are like, man, you got to save that because
right,
uh,
right,
that's priceless, right?
exactly.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And I think for guys listening, I think it just is such a good example of like leaning in, right? It sounds like when you went through this sort of divorce, you leaned in to your faith to sort of provide some guidance, and then almost through that, really were able to find a different path. I think the other thing I would just we all have this picture of like how life is supposed to be and what it's supposed to look like, and
Yeah.
I don't know, we all must have read the same books as kids because mine has never looked like the way I thought it would, but I love that
No,
you're
yeah.
doing what you can. The other thing we'd love to get your thoughts on is, as we think about like the mission of F3, right, to invigorate male community leadership. And so we try, right, you're obviously in a leadership position at work, and we try to give guys an opportunity to lead like your VQ and then to be a site Q. Would just love to kind of hear your takeaways there, any lessons learned or advice you would have for guys, and then talk us through the succession planning too. Would love to hear about that.
Yeah. Uh, Honestly, I think the common theme that I've learned is just like embrace and lean into it.
Mhm.
And obviously I was looking back, especially at like joining consistently going to F3, you kind of look back and you're like, well, why didn't I start earlier, right?
Mhm.
Why didn't I lean into it? Um, and even even going further, like, um, my VQ, I had there was a wheel of sausage. That's so, um, and it was a fun thing, and there's been multiple asks for that to be repeated again, so that maybe, which is actually an interesting thing because it's tough. It's an interesting conversation to have with your daughter of like why you took her like twister board and there's like pictures of sausages
Right.
on there, like, okay, don't ask questions.
Right. Yeah.
But that was actually like an idea I had at like midnight. And so like on my work laptop, like picture of like kielbasa. I'm like, if HR ever sees like my
Right.
Google search history, there's going to be some
Right.
questions asked. Um but yeah, so anyways, like kind of fast forwarding to like, Al Borland asked me to take over the Berm, and with some help from Truly was asking me, "What are you gonna do? Do you think that's you should do it?" And I was only, I mean, I was about a year into F3, and I was finally kind of hitting my cadence of like consistently going, 3, 4 times a week, and um, but still, there's just like that little thing in your head. You're like, I don't know. It's a lot of responsibility, and like I don't know if I have time to like balance this out with like kids and work and all the things. And like at the end of the day, like it's not a tough ask, right? And it's you're you're I feel like, and they kind of talk about this at church too, but like um after a while, like I felt like I was becoming like a taker, right? Like I came to
Yeah.
F3 and I would just take, right? And now it's like your opportunity to like give back. And there's so many other guys that have like given back to F3. And so eventually it kind of came down to like, yeah, like this is like the right time to like give back. And honestly, like there everyone's different and on a different journey, but like lean into to that next like leadership role, because
Hmm.
it's so worth it. And like at the end of the day, like it goes by so fast. Like that year of leading the berm, we had so many like fun things there that happened, like we had 1776, and we had
Yeah, that
like
was awesome.
a turkey hunt and like
Yeah.
all the things, right? But like it went by so fast, and there's 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 a minimal amount of like actual work that you have to do every week. So
Hmm.
like being like, oh, it's going to take so much time, like don't let that deter you. And at the end of the day, like true, like the sector leadership is always there to like have your back. Like other people, I mean, there's times that I just couldn't make it. I was traveling somewhere. Okay, well, someone is going to pick up the flag, someone's going to plant it for you, someone's going to take over. um and so there was really like no reason why I shouldn't do it, right? Like you kind of
Yeah.
start looking for excuses, and there's no reason not to. Um, and so again, yeah, I would just encourage the guys to lean into it and try and you know um, find that like role to fill that like gap of, if there's a site that needs help, or if you want to lead a site, like voice it to somebody. So
Yeah.
um and then kind of looking for like, so my year went by super fast, and um eventually trying to trying to find another person was initially a bit of a challenge, because there's so many guys out in the Northwest that like have either already led, or
Hmm.
they're like there's a bunch that have already like led a site, or there's a bunch of like newer guys, and then there's some guys that are in the middle and they're already like, there's so
Already
many
spoken
sites now that
for.
they're
Yeah.
already queued
Yep.
up for another
Yep.
site, right? And so um but like that being said, like the the best person was like right in front of my face like the entire time. And so finding his snare and asking him to leave is like a no brainer. Like
Hmm.
he lives close, he's consistently there, like his values and like what he brings, and just like the work ethic. And I mean, he's I couldn't have asked for like a better successor to try and like keep building on the greatness that is the berm.
Berm. Yeah, I
That's right.
love it. And he had his two boys, or two of his kids, do their VQ there, which I missed for a shovel flag pass, but I wish I would have. I heard it was epic.
Yeah.
OG
OG
Monkey and Chipmunk.
OG Monkey was he was chirping at me at the latest convergence. I got in the same group as him, and he knew that I had led the berm before his dad. Like
Uh,
on the last like station, he was like pushing me like, hurry up, why aren't you running faster? And I was like, geez, I'm trying to. He's like, how does it feel that my 41-year-old dad can like do all this way
yeah,
faster than you? I'm like, geez, like
yeah.
I don't know. It
Well,
feels terrible.
Well, yeah, well, when you see Snare out there, he normally has a vest on, right? He's,
Yeah.
like, crushing it, so,
Yep. Yep.
that's, like, a good pick there. Well, this has been great, and I have to say, like, I just, I remember when I first saw you out there and just sort of lit up, like, getting to reconnect, and it's been cool because I think our families have a lot of similar stuff, going on in terms of the kids and just how do you navigate, all of that having girls? So, yeah, we'll be on
Yeah.
the
If anybody knows, let us
yeah,
know.
yeah, well,
It's
yeah,
actually,
there's a few guys with like, Speed Bump's got some older, girls that are going to college, and so I'm just, like, terrified of that moment.
yeah.
We're
Yeah.
not ready for that here, but, where we like to kinda end with guys is just sort of thinking about current state. What are you going through? Anything where you need prayers or encouragement from guys that are listening?
Um, Gosh, honestly, so as of last week, my wife accepted a new job.
Oh,
And
nice.
so she'll be leaving the hospital from nursing perspective. So I guess just like positive like prayers and thoughts that like
Yeah.
everything just goes smoothly in the kind of the transition there. And good news is I think that's going to open me up for
Yeah,
more
yeah.
F3
I was gonna say, is this an 8 to
visits. So
5, like, more of an
yeah,
office job?
yeah, yes, it is. So
Nice. Heck yeah.
um, so yeah, looking forward to that. But I think that's kind of the main thing right now. You know, Obviously kids are always going through something, so
Mhm. Pray that you
but
make it through cheer season, right?
yeah, so she's not doing it anymore. She's done. She
Okay.
doesn't want to go back, which I'm totally fine with. So
Yeah.
she's doing tennis and volleyball and those kinds of things now. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah,
Awesome. Well, I love it. We'll be thinking about you for those things, and, yeah, excited to see you out in the gloom. Let's do a little Nemo to end us up here. I'll start us off. Brandon Fleharty,
okay.
39, The Plague,
Plague, Chris Vicky, 41, Schnitzel.
Schnitzel, and does
So
anybody say anything after, like, as a callback or
uh
anything?
they sometimes you'll hear Sausage King of Omaha.
Is that the Stoicic,
That's yeah,
Stoicic
I don't
slang there?
know. That's I think that's a Truly and maybe Speed Bump thing as they
I
start
bet.
yelling that.
Yeah.
So
I love it. Awesome. Well, appreciate your time today, man.
yeah, thanks for having me.